Hi, my lovelies. Thank you for joining me. I am Baine, and this is the first broadcast since my puppy Taylor passed on, and it's very sad for me. I skipped a week. I put up a memorial video of sorts of when I was drawing a picture of her, and you could see she was gallivanting with the other dogs, and they were all puppies. And also, I'm doing a real memorial video of clips of her that I've taken over the past year. She was only 8 months old. We're not sure of what took her life. We're very sad and upset about it. The It's just a very tragic moment. Now, I refer to Taylor as my emotional support puppy, but this isn't the first YouTube channel I've had with one of my pets. I can, I'll see if I can find my. Okay, if you can see this, this is um uh this is the YouTube channel I had of Dot and Ebony. They were my pet rabbits, well, our pet rabbits at the time, my whole family, and I did a little thing with them. I'll put a link up to that YouTube channel later on, and really and truly, I would you would hear me mention in the memorial video that I am creating, in the process of creating for Taylor, that I I mentioned that in my family we have had a ton of pets. I mentioned before that, which I was sad to note, that at the time when I was referencing Taylor and she was very sick, that my mom refers to this our yard as a pet cemetery, but that is really her fault because I think it is that she realized that I mentioned we were going through real struggles in life because she was a single parent. She had a job, she was a clerk in a bank, but she still didn't make that much money. And she was raising three children. And then when I became a teenager, my grandmother got very sick. She had two strokes. And then a few years after that, well, she passed. And then a few years after that, my grandfather, he became ill and he was bedridden, and both of them were bedridden, my grandparents, and my mom was the only one to take care of them. And so I guess in a way she sort of figured out really early that pets were the way to go for us. Even though she didn't have money for much as I grown up, even though she didn't have much money growing up to take care of us or do much things, she still managed to maintain the mortgage on the house. The mortgage was the big deal. Um, what else? So she maintained the mortgage, and even though I had what at one point persons from the bank came to take pictures of the house to and were acting as if they were going to foreclose on the house. So that was a big deal back then for us. But she managed, at least up to this point, to keep hold of the house, and she just the act of giving us opportunity to get pets were free except for certain pets, but it wouldn't cost much money. She We didn't really feed we yeah we were able to maintain the pets, feed them and things like that, and they did bring joy to our lives. So we had fish, rabbits, a lot of dogs. In fact, there was a time when my grandmother was bedridden, and then we had a nurse who would come in once in a while to look after her, to take care. And it had this one time she came in and she said to for us to try to keep our grandmother awake. She couldn't go to sleep. I don't know, maybe it is that if she went to sleep she would have gone into a coma or something, but she was like to keep her awake, make sure she doesn't go to sleep. And we let well, it was my idea to let all the dogs into the bedroom. I went outside, got the dogs, and brought them inside the bedroom, and they were on the bed with my grandmother. And we would try, and the nurse was trying to urge my grandmother to stay awake and look the dogs, shoo the dogs away. And my grandmother was like shooing the dogs away. So yeah, that is I'll never forget that moment. So the dogs in our lives were great, and every one of them. They really uplifted us in our household, in our family. And Taylor is no exception. But this is the first time, really, that we had the opportunity to film our pets and our dogs to a great extent. Before they weren't, even in the time when we had the bunnies. Um, there wasn't a there wasn't really camera. There were camera phones, we didn't have high end camera phones, so you will see the picture is really grainy on that YouTube video I uploaded. Like it's I think it's on. It says 8 years ago, and I'll put the link to it, and you can click on it, and you can see the bunnies jumping up and over. They're not around anymore. Sad to say they passed on since then. We had more than just Dot and Ebony. Had a really small brown one once that was in the yard, and it got. We couldn't find it. We let it go in the yard, and we couldn't find it. It disappeared. We thought it went outside for a whole day. We just kept going around the yard looking for this tiny brown bunny. And we finally found it crouched up in a cylindrical cement pillar that we had in the yard. So that was surreal. Okay, now this is a story that I had decided to type up. Once something had happened with Taylor, I decided to type up this story. Now, a few months ago, my mom's made a quip that there's a zombie in the house. She was referring to just comically, because we've had a string of bad luck. For remember I said that at one point that this is my Green Lantern job. Like this job that I have right now is what Green Lantern is to Ryan Reynolds. But at least on the Green Lantern job, he met his wife, and it was a good propeller for him. And he's had success after success since then. So, fingers crossed, that's the same thing. That'll be the same way for me. I'll be able to put my Green Lantern job behind me. But I made a joke, at least in my head, that well, I'm sorry, I brought the zombie with me when I got this job. This job brought the zombie in our lives. Normally, I'll get a job, or you get a job and you leave your job behind. But there's no way for that with this position. I swear that the zombie came with the job, and it infiltrated my household and my family. Now, But when Taylor got sick, my sister was like, you can't save any money in this house. You should have money saved and you're putting it towards something that come up. But I was like in my head, well, it's the same way how when, as soon as we were, as things were okay when we were like primary school and little, and then Granny got sick, and then that was a strain on the household, and then my grandfather got sick, and it was strain on the household. Something is always happening. You can't keep any money. It's kind of what Susie Ormond says. Something always taking place. There always kind of emergency. You can't retire early. That's what she was saying. Um, because you have to really plan, because something will always happen. Look at me with my multiple sclerosis. I didn't as soon as I went abroad on a full scholarship that paid for everything. I applied for funding from my government, but I didn't need the money because it was not that I needed the money, but it was for personal use. I didn't get anything for personally, but for like education and for the educational side of it, it was a full scholarship, and for room and board, the scholarship covered that at least. So I needed the money, but at least once I had room and board, that was it. But as soon as I reached, I realized that something was wrong after about a year and a half. I realized there had some medical issue, and I came back to Trinidad. I always regretted coming back to Trinidad because I realized, hey, it would have been better for me to stay abroad. I didn't get assistance or anything with my MS medication or anything for many years after I came back. And I self-diagnosed myself in 2008. But a lot of MS patients do self-diagnose themselves, and but that was a real crazy time for me, and I felt that so that you can never plan, or something is always happening. Something is always happening. My mom retired. She can't enjoy her retirement. She has arthritis in all her legs, and she's hard for her to walk about. Right? So it's like something always happening. But the one thing I've always found true is something my grandmother taught me years ago. Well, we used to have a plaque on the wall saying, God bless our home. And she used to refer to it and talk to me about it. And the gist of what I got from it is that no matter any type of dire situation, we are very lucky because God has blessed us. God looks after us. God is taking care of us no matter where we are in the world. And that is something that I always found true to form. No matter how many zombies there are um, trying to manipulate our situation, when a good situation starts with us, God has our backs. And there's something weird, like, I won't say weird, but an idea formed in my head that years ago, because I went to religious schools all my life, primary school, high school, even university. um, I got this notion in my head that our house was blessed. When my grandmother died, her spirit visited me. I felt it. When Taylor passed on, I felt her spirit move through me. I really did feel Taylor after she passed on. It's a sad moment. I held her in my arms, and I even gave her mouth to nose resuscitation and CPR for dogs, and she did come back to us for a short while the morning that she died. So I know that is out there, but I'm really glad to have been with her. Um so what I'm trying to say is that regardless of the situation, God has our backs. That is the impression that I got my from my grandmother all those years ago when she um before she passed on. And at this point last year, now our cat got feline leukemia, and he was sick for months before he passed on around this same time, Easter last year. He was a stray, and he was around, we had him maybe 3 years. So the vet said that most likely he was born with leukemia, feline leukemia, and it's so sad. He was getting better, but he suddenly took a turn for the worse around this time last year and passed on. I'm The memorial video for me for Taylor is taking a while because I'm kind of trying to get over it, and I'm looking at videos. It's very sad, but I am putting the video together. It may turn out to be too long, so I'm trying to see what I can do. Okay, so to get it as closed off as quickly as I possibly can. Um, Now, the thing is, I'm a practical person, meaning that many people in the past have always commented on me to say that they find that nothing gets to me. I'm cool under pressure and everything, but it's kind of weird for me that MS is a illness that propels your anxiety and makes you tearful and emotional, even though I'm not really that kind of a person. um but I'm really grateful to have been involved with Taylor. She was, although all of the pets that have gone, including Dot and Ebony, and all the pets that have come and gone, have are really our emotional. Yeah, you can't help but get emotional with a pet. All right, their emotion. I called her my emotional support puppy, but as a practical person, I didn't feel that I needed it, but I just, that is the kind of words that you're picking up in the okay. um 1 minute. Okay, so I think you missed everything that I was saying there just now. Basically, I mentioned that um, oh yes, I when I was working a few years ago, the short of it is that I used to get driven by a person or dropped here and there, and the weird thing about it is that he would be driving past a police officer. The police officer would be minding his own business or just directing traffic or something, and as he came across the police officer in the car, he would make sure his side window was rolled all the way up, and then he would curse the police officer. It was shocking to me. And this is something that he did all the time right through. I don't know if he was doing it. I never determined that he was doing it as just to shock me or others in the vehicle, right? I determined that this is just something that he did on a regular basis and he didn't care who was in the car. Another police officer could be in the car. As far as I can guess. And he would just curse that police officer out. So yeah, when Gary became COP, Commissioner of Police, was a very popular Commissioner of Police. I remember when they first made Gary Commissioner of Police, someone did say they will do it, and all of us were like, that's never going to happen. And then they did make Gary Commissioner of Police, but we didn't. Well, as I said, we didn't really know as much about his background. Hi. So this is the other one. This is Gigi. Yes, it's a very sad situation that she has to cope with. I mentioned in the memorial video. I will make sure to put that up this week. That they were two, Gigi and Taylor were two peas in a pod. In fact, I'm more worried about the dogs than I am of myself. Like I said, I'm a practical person. It's the emotional side comes. I often wonder if the emotional side of me comes from MS, and it's just the MS. So I am more worried about the dogs, and I'm more sad that Taylor lost her life. It was such a life of tribulation, I find, because when she came here, I mentioned in the video that you okay? You alright? You okay? You okay? You alright? Yeah, sure, I know. Yes, I know. I mentioned that when she came, she was scruffy looking, and I wasn't going to pay for any dog. Is my sister was going to pay for dogs, but she came here and she looked scruffy and her hair was matted. She didn't look as if she was being really taken care of. And my sister, I got the impression that other people were scorning her because the same way that my sister sort of scorned her because she didn't look like a multiple. If you notice, Gigi and Nico, they have this long curly tail, and Taylor had a bobtail. You alright? What is going on there? Now see next dog. Anyway, the dogs are kind of a nice distraction, but I'm still, because of what happened with Taylor, I'm glad I have them running around as a part of the videos. Because, like I showed you, the whole thing with Dot and Ebony is something that I've been doing for years. And if it's not a video, before that I had a blog. Yeah. time goes by. So um yeah. Anyway, let me get to it. My mom talked about, I was mentioning that my mom referred to, like, there been a zombie in the house. Now a zombie, another moko zombie, happy jumping about and stuff, but a zombie in the sense that an evil spirit had come into our lives and was taking over, right? Okay, a zombie, I'm reading here, is the disembodied spirit of a dead person. That is it. Supposed to haunt the living as a pale or shadowy vision, phantom. Alright, it's a spectral or haunting memory. Alright, and I'm even seeing here a zombie in the Caribbean, and it's actually spelled Jumbee. Alright, one of the most common parts of Caribbean folklore is the duppy, also called zombie. Well, they have the spelling that I have for it here, Jumbie. That's another spelling. Um, which means ghost or spirit. They're generally considered malevolent spirits that wreak havoc on humans, whether it's an everyday irritation. This zombie that I brought into the house is an everyday irritation or significant life-changing event. So that is what I've brought into the house with this position that I'm in right now. I brought a zombie into our lives. But it's like I said, at every juncture in our life, there's some kind of thing to try that the devil has created to keep us back. In fact, I've told my sister, same thing, basically close to what the Pope said once. But I said that the devil has anointed persons in our lives, humans that walk amongst us, to create evil and to wreak havoc in our lives. That is it. So I never I've never come across the zombie in folklore, meaning to say that I've come across Sukunya lots of times. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. Rubiri. I just seen the say Victor. He's someone who has a book on the Sukunya. Yes, that's why I had to wear long pants. Well, I just thought I would show this to you. This is every. I don't know why, but I keep most of my booklets that I have for my medication for my MS. Yeah, this is it. For whatever reason, I, for the most part, I don't throw them away. I just keep them. You get a big box with injections, and then inside each box is a booklet. But in any case, this is it. Actually, this is a Nancy. But I believe the Sukanya is it too. I'm not sure. But you always, this book, Anansi, a book of night and the Book of Night, Rubadiri Victor. I always forget how to pronounce his first name. Rubadiri. Right. A Trinidadian writer, artist. Hey. Well, in the beginning, I thought of taking the dogs and locking them away, but even if you look at the videos that I made of Dot and Ebony, those are rabbits. We mostly let them play around, and I just film them playing around, just going wherever. I remember once I was exercising, I was doing this with my hands, and I felt this stinging pain on my hand, and I looked back, and it was one of the rabbits. I believe it was Ebony. But anyway, let's get hey, let's get to the story. Yes, I've been talking for way too long. I tell myself I want to stop doing that. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hey, hey. Okay. Okay, so the story opens where a local police officer. Okay, one thing I wanted to mention is that with the story of the guy who used to first saw the police officer, at the time I didn't understand his deal with the police, but I have to say right now, I totally get it and I totally understand. I 100% get it. It's not something that I would see myself doing. For instance, I barely drive. Hey, hey, hey. But yeah, I totally get it. But the one thing I have to say is that all my life in Trinidad and Tobago, one thing they teach you is from the time you're a child is not to say anything bad about the police. Not to say bad about anything about the country, your prime minister, you anything. That is how you raise when you raise the okay, no, excuse me, the proper way. You're not to make bad say bad things about your country, especially when you leave your country. Okay, so in this scene, a police officer person is a police officer has been a newly minted local police officer has been is speaking with his mother on the phone.